All right, hey folks, hope everything is great and you're having an amazing day. I wanted to do this test video, just testing out my new mic and recorder. Wanted to bring your attention to the market fiasco we had this week in terms of everything, stocks, bonds, crypto. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is just what I see happening in the world. So Evergrande, a huge Chinese company, came out and declared that they're in debt so much to the fact that they require assistance from the Chinese government. So they're in probably the debt for about $300 billion. So a lot of money printing will have to happen in order to save that company, right? So here we go, another company has come out and waving a red flag saying, hey, help me please, right? Or everything will just, go to bits and pieces, right? So that scares a lot of people into, including other competitors, other institutions, governments alike. And when you're that big, you're not only doing business in one particular region, you're actually doing importing, exporting. You're borrowing money to buy assets in other geographic locations, etc. Right? So it's leveraging. So a lot of institutions, they borrow money, probably at minimal cost, and then go out there and invest in global real estate or global asset management, things such as that, right? So what we're seeing here, and the focus of this short call, is to really bring your attention to another fiat money printing, right? That's about to happen. So the U.S. Treasury also said that they're going to continue doing what they're doing, which has been, not really saying it out loud, but yes, continue propping up the economy, right? We're still digging our way out of this COVID mess, and what COVID did teach us is that we need to look at deflationary assets, and this is why Bitcoin just literally took off to the moon since last year. I recall last year, June 2020, Bitcoin was hovering around 9 grand, almost 10 grand. It was being very boring. It was doing sideways action, like I mentioned in my previous videos. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, yo, wise up. They start buying Bitcoin. Institutions, right? Robert Kiyosaki, big players, NBA players, they're getting into NFTs. They're understanding, I'm making all this fiat money. Where am I going to put it? In the bank to sit there? Or I'm going to buy real estate? Maybe I should also take, 5%, according to Ray Dalio, one of the world's, richest investors. Take a portion of that and invest it in Bitcoin. He came out with that last year. Now look what we're seeing today. So in terms of today, where I see the value of Bitcoin, of course, going up, and I don't think that can be contested, there's also something called Bitcoin Cash, which used to be one-to-one with Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash was forked from Bitcoin back in August of 2017, so about 4 years ago. The reason for that fork was that the two parties in the developing network, the developer network for the Bitcoin network, that is, they had a difference of opinion. So back then, hey, nobody cared about Bitcoin, nobody cared about Bitcoin Cash, and guess what? The developers that support Bitcoin Cash said, hey, you know what? We're going to fork Bitcoin, meaning that we're going to, make a hard copy of that and then do our own upgrades to introduce more scalability to this solution. A solution that by 2017 had been around for, pretty much almost a decade, right? So they looked at that and say, hey, this thing is almost a decade old. I think we need some upgrades on it. Let's do this. Let's break out. Let's copy this, and then we're going to do an upgrade. So it's just like your software upgrade for your Mac or your Windows or Linux. It's almost no different to that. So look at it from a software upgrade. By the time the world started to look at Bitcoin, last year, so the market crash happened in March 2020. Bitcoin, including other markets, saw a huge dip. So by the time that happened, a few months later, 6 months later, everybody started learning, hey, you know what? Oh, they're getting scared. All this fiat printing, what's it going to do? So they went to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is through the moon right? Right now, So Bitcoin Cash was 1-to-1 4 years ago, only 4 years ago, only because a difference of opinion. So what's going to happen to the Bitcoin network in November 2021 is it's going to have an upgrade called the Taproot upgrade. That upgrade will bring some more privacy options to Bitcoin. It will also bring some more smart contract options to the Bitcoin network, right? So the Bitcoin network is the largest digital crypto network in the world. By far, it's got so much support. It's unbelievable. So it's great, right? Because Bitcoin Cash was a fork of Bitcoin, the miners can also turn around tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna mine Bitcoin Cash because I know that supply is the same as Bitcoin in terms of there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin Cash. The thing what I'm looking at right now is that Bitcoin is looked at as the store of value. So gold 2.0, right? Gold has a current market cap of around 10 trillion, and all the fiat money in the world, fiat means paper money, all the fiat money in the world combined commands $100 trillion or thereabouts, right? So you're looking at a $100 trillion market. We've seen the adoption of Bitcoin in El Salvador because they, I'm not a monetary guy, I'm not a financial advisor, but to my knowledge, they didn't have their own dollar or their powerful dollar, or their dollar wasn't powerful enough, so they turned to technology, right? They adopted Bitcoin as their legal tender. Because why? Bitcoin is the oldest digital currency network, cryptocurrency network. It's the first blockchain, Bitcoin. So they went with that. Now, as part of that evolution process, I think what you're going to notice is that in the next 6 months, in the next year, you're going to see Bitcoin introduce this Taproot in November, right? Bitcoin Cash already had those digital signatures, and it just most recently has the capabilities of also smart contracts on its network, right? Maybe through a sidechain or something like that, but it's still, you can have smart contracts on Bitcoin Cash network. So Bitcoin Cash is gaining notoriety, it's gaining momentum, and right now it's about 1-to-76, right? So the ratio is huge. That means Bitcoin has a huge gap over Bitcoin Cash, right? So I'm looking at Bitcoin Cash as saying, hey, you know what? It's only 21 million. In a time when I don't have the luxury to gamble and, pick certain coins and wait for it to go to the moon, and then all of a sudden the SEC comes in and says, hey, you guys are a security, and then crash the market. In a time like this, I'm putting my own money, most of it, in Bitcoin Cash, right? So there's many reasons that I kind of outlined in my YouTube, in some of the videos, and I talk about that, right? Bitcoin lifts everything else. Sure, we're going to see new projects come out and do thousands of percent, right? I'm not disputing that. I also look at some of those coins, but when I make profits, now I'm, because of the whole 2021 market crash and the up and down and the FUD all around surrounding Bitcoin and all these nations, Turkey coming out and says they're going to have a war with cryptocurrencies. Other countries are adopting it, the FUD, we want to have our own digital dollar, CBDC, all kinds of stuff. I'm just cutting the noise and I'm saying, look, for myself, I want to make some profits and I want to bank it somewhere. Sure, I can put it in Bitcoin. But if I see that, hey, you know what, through adoption, just like how Bitcoin is being adopted, and I'm in technology, I know that there's just a matter of time when 5 billion people come to the space, boom, they're going to look at Bitcoin, they're going to look at Bitcoin Cash, they're going to look at Ethereum, they're going to look at all kinds of different, top 10, top 100 coins, right? So we are going to be more knowledgeable, right? We're going to educate ourselves. And the onus is probably on us to educate the wider society, because you're not hearing about this every day. I think about this every day. How far is your dollar going, right? So simply we're in an inflation crisis, just print more money. We just had an election, a federal election here in Canada, folks. Cost roughly, I heard, $600 million, right, for the same guy who's in power to win, maybe by a lesser powerful degree, but he's still in office. 600 million. Where's that money coming from? Oh, just fire it off, print it off, turn on the money printer. I think the narrative here is Evergrande being bailed out by perhaps the Chinese government. They're in very deep, so it shook the market this week. And crypto will get shaken, but it bounces back, right? September is usually also a red month for Bitcoin, and we're approaching the fourth quarter of 2021, right? So if we compare that to 2017, in September 2017, it was so quiet, right? Bitcoin was humming along and churning. All of a sudden, by December, it just skyrocketed to like 20 grand US from where it was in September, August, which was huge. The facts were out there. So I'm patiently waiting to see what happens with Bitcoin Cash in terms of adoption, in terms of value. I think I know where it's going, but anything is anything. Anything can happen. And that's it. So I just wanted to draw your attention to the negative news this week. Markets getting pounded. A lot of people who are wealthy, they take advantage of times like this, right? So if I have to look at 1-to-1, meaning Bitcoin Cash is 1-to-1 with Bitcoin 4 years ago, even if that, comes 2-to-1, ratio comes down. Like that's a huge gain in terms of where Bitcoin Cash could be headed, right? So I'm looking at the future. I'm looking at the next 5 years, the next 6 years, not only for myself, but for people in general, right? Where are we going with everything? All the fiat money printing, sure, they're just going to increase the taxes to take that money back and put it back in their treasury perhaps, right? But while all that is probably going to happen, maybe you look at deflationary assets. A new digital asset class is being birthed and being adopted, right? So you're not going to hear about this on everyday news right now, probably in a few years, right? And that would be too late. Once 5 billion people come into this space, that's it. You can't go back and say, hey, I want to do a repeat, go back, shut the door, and then when I'm ready, I'll let you know. All right? That's it for today. Take care. Have a great day.